Sup guys, it's Kosh, and today in Soul Knight Prequel we are doing Ranger class build guide that will allow you to make something useful out of this character, which is really tough. Ranger is advanced class that's being made of Archer and Thief, so it will combine skills of those two classes. The problem with the Ranger that I found that when you level in him you have really hard time, because most of the skills are either way too AoE or really hard to aim and not that useful. So yeah, this is the hardest class so far I had leveling to level 50. And yeah, just as War Lich, it's very gear dependent. It requires you to have the proper fate bounce in order for it to work, otherwise you will suffer quite a lot. Moreover, you need a lot of skill points to make it work as well, so you can't make it work at level 30 or 40 early on, because you will still be pretty weak. So yeah, what can I say about this class? Its strength that it's revolving around the critical hit. All the skills that in the skill tree are either focused on getting the critical hit or making sure that after the critical hit you will get more projectiles. So that means that instead of one arrow you will shoot 3 arrows of some skill. So that means that after the critical hit you will shoot 3 arrows instead of 1 for some skills. So while leveling you will encounter the main issue that your skills have way too long cooldown to use them more often, and you will be using auto attack quite a lot in order to mitigate that, and yeah, I didn't like that quite a lot. Moreover, some core mechanics of the class is that you want enemies to be outside of that range in order to get extra damage, and sometimes, especially in the crowded areas, it's a bit too hard, so you don't get those range damage bonuses all the time. So yeah, let's go over the stats first. I actually put everything into the dexterity, because strength, I put a bit into that to get some survivability, but mostly I put everything into dexterity, and I put like almost 0 stuff into intelligence, since intelligence is being debuffed by one of our skills, and we'll talk about that a bit later. Although for survivability you might want to add a bit more strength, because you still get pretty high critical rate and some evasion from the high amount of dexterity from your gear and the stats, so most stuff will go into dex here. So let's start with the Archer perks that you might want to take. I haven't done the build yet, it's just to test out all the skills, so let's go and do the reset. You get variety of different builds for the Ranger guys, and I will cover the one that kinda I like the most right now, and after that I will mention the other builds and we'll talk about that. But yeah, it's really hard to find the right build for this character because it's counterintuitive. As we'll go through the skills, I will explain you why. So for the Archer, we would like to get aim as high as possible, because that will increase the chance to deal the critical damage. That's really convenient. Then we would like to get the True Shot aura to the maximum, because, well, it's our bread and butter. True Shot is everything that we ever need in order to get additional dexterity and additional damage. And outside of that, in the Archer tree, I don't use that many things. You can get Tumbling Shot, or if you don't want that, I mean, some people use that, some don't. I personally don't use it that often, but you might want to give it a go. Or you can spend more points into basic training in order to unlock the Sphaera Sagittantis. In order to unlock the variety of skills, we will unlock the Tumbling Shot for us, and then we will put the rest of the stuff here. So there we go, our Archer tree is done, and yeah, this skill, if you don't know, it will increase your physical damage even more, increase your movement speed, and you will also get additional projectiles when you attack. It's a pretty cool skill, but its duration is actually pretty short, so you don't expect it to be active all the time. Now let's move on to the Thief tab. Here we would like to get Grievous Wounds that will allow us to get Bleed and Exsanguination. Also, it will increase critical damage. That's what we need, because we are expecting to crit. And then we will get Tactful Swoop. This one is used to get additional trigger of the skill mostly. So its dodge ability isn't that useful, and higher levels will lower its cooldown so you can use it more often. Then we will take a Vindictive Aura here all the way to the maximum as well. That will also give us critical damage bonus and dodge chance. You can leave it at 3 points, that will be enough because it will fill up this tree. But I personally like it to the maximum, so we will get a bit more crit damage. and some dodge chance. Also, I would like to get some blood hunt because that will allow you to get some healing. So when the enemies who are affected by this will die, they will recover some of your life with some percentage chance and that kind of stuff. So getting 1 or maybe even 2 points here will be really good because it will allow you to get extra health recovery. Depending on your fate bounce and your gear and where you are in the game, you might want to put more or less points over here. I'm okay with 1. I put 2 right now because I'm going into the harder content, but that's about it. And for the rest of the thief skills, I don't really use them that much. I tried using throwing daggers when I leveled up. It was kinda okay, but then again, it have the long cooldown and everything. Shadow Strike requires melee weapon, and Blade Drift requires you to be close to the enemies. But our Ranger is different, because we go to the Ranger tab, and here we get our first skill, Death from Afar. That's a passive skill that will give us 20, 30, 40 and 50 damage when there are no enemies in the 6-meter range. This is very debatable. Honestly guys, I took it and I actually use it quite a lot. It's useful at the bosses mostly because on the normal enemies they are way too close, they are everywhere and you don't have time to be away from them. But on the bosses it gives extra DPS, which is really nice. But yeah, overall I was expecting it to be more efficient and useful, but it won't be triggered as often as you would like. Then we totally miss on the scatter shot. I tried this skill, it was okay-ish, but it's really hard to aim. Moreover, it's very AoE focused and you gotta be close to the enemies in order to proc well, so it will kinda spread out more. Decided not to go with it. Reservoir is pretty close range skill anyway, so you can't really use it. Paroxysmic Eruption is a passive skill, and I actually like to take 1 or 2 points from here because that will allow you to get more AoE. When the enemies will die, they will release some projectile and do damage to surrounding enemies, although the damage isn't that high and debatable. Most builds I've seen don't use that, but you might want to get some points into it. I will get at least 1 point here because it's nice to get some more AoE to clear stuff faster. And then we go to our main skills here. We are getting Rain of Arrows, Maashes. That will allow us to do AoE attack with the Rain of Arrows, which is actually a dot, so you will have ticks that will benefit from many fate bounds. So let's max it out to the maximum. That will lower its cooldown to 4.5 seconds, which is honestly not enough, but that's our main attack skill. That's really weird, but it works if you get the right fate bounce. On the right here we got the Predatory Focus. This is strength is transformed into dexterity, which is a lie. So after the skill is activated, it will transform intelligence into dexterity, so strength will stay the same, and we will need this skill at least at 3 points. I would advise getting it to 4 because it might have better benefits, but you should like take a look, play with it. If you have enough mana, leave it like that. If not, go to the higher level. With level 3 I was kinda okay. So what does it do? It restores mana equal to flat amount, so you don't have percentage of mana regen, you will get the flat mana regen after that, and some of your intelligence will be converted to dexterity, which is really good if you get some intelligence gear on you. It's an active skill, so you will have to activate it to use it, so let's get it to the maximum right now to see how it is. And we got only 4 points left, so that's not that many. The last skill for Ranger, which should be cool, Onslaught. Increase the number of projectiles launched by your next attack following a crit, 2 projectiles extra, which is really great, but it requires you to have either the Cloud Piercer build, it works with the Tumbling Shot as well, or Scatter Shot. So basically, you would like to have the skills, throwing daggers works as well. You would like to have the skill with the projectiles, but we are using AoE skills here, so it's kind of weird. And I tried running with the arrows, so Cloud Piercer, all that stuff, and it didn't work well. I tried throwing daggers, it didn't work well. For the Cloud Piercer, we got real long cooldown, so it doesn't work that well, and the damage output wasn't high enough. Same with the throwing daggers, so I haven't found an actual good way to make use of this skill, which is sad, because I really like that hell that you can do, like Scatter Shot together with this skill is wonderful. It's just spreading arrows all over the screen, but yeah. So for your last 4 points, you can put it either into the basic training here or here to get extra stats, or you can fortify some skill that you like the most here. For example, Vindictive Aura to get extra dodge and critical damage. Up to you, we'll get it here, so it will be more DPS for us. Now for the skill wheel, what do we have? We have 1 dodge skill, 2 dodge skills here, and we got the buff in the end. Then we get the Cloud Piercer, no, Rain of Arrows over here, that we'll be using most of the time as our offensive spell. And on the second tab we got the buff, so we got this aura, we got this aura, and we got this one, since it's an aura actually, so it says it's an active skill, but it's actually something like an aura. You activate it once and forget about it. So yeah guys, how it will look without any special equipment. I usually show you equipment first, but you need to know why it's so important. At first we will activate all the buffs. Whoop, whoop, whoop. There we go, so we got almost, don't watch it, the DPS here, I unequipped some, oh, we unequipped the weapon, right. So do you see that red circle around me? It's tiny, but you can see it. That's the range where you don't have to have enemies in order to have the bonus of extra DPS, extra 50% damage. So if you are this close to the enemy, you are already not getting that, and that's horrible because you'll be moving around the battlefield and the enemies will be everywhere, so you won't be getting that most of the time. Now, how do you use your skills? You will be using the Rain of Arrows. That's the basic skill, but then you got this Thief Dash ability. When you use that and you use Rain of Arrows, you will get 2 Rains of Arrows instead of 1. That will basically double your DPS. Then you get your Tumble Shot for additional DPS and additional movement speed, and you get your buff that you use to buff your damage and maybe get some extra projectiles, extra DPS for your auto attack that you will use quite often. So yeah, just make sure that you're using them in the right sequence. So first you use that dash, then you use this arrow shot, and that's your bread and butter basically. But the problem with it that its range isn't that huge. By the way guys, do you remember how I said that that skill that kinda lowers your intelligence doesn't lower strength? It doesn't, it just lowers your intelligence, so yeah. Description is wrong. So yeah, just to show you what I mean, we will go into the area with the enemies, and this is all the AoE that we will get out of it. And look at the cooldown, it's crazy, it's taking forever. So when you shoot it there and the enemies die, you can't shoot it here yet, so we gotta run around like that and then use it again. That's like, it's okay-ish, but can you imagine clearing powerful enemies with that? You will be swarmed or killed really fast. So we are moving to the Fate Bounds. Now, this is hard. You will need several Fate Bounds active for you, and the gear, you have to roll for that. The best set for you is Valkyrie because it gets Onslaught straight away. Onslaught will allow you to get a faster tick on your dot, which is your Rain of Arrows. So yeah, it works for that. That will allow you to do more DPS and be more active. Also, Spirit of Valkyrie will give you extra DPS, but I don't have any of those pieces and I really don't want to craft it. I won't main this class, I don't like it that much. So yeah, we'll have to find out other ways of getting the stats. Another thing you will need is Blowout. Blowout will increase the range of your skills, so Blowout is really useful stuff for the ranger. Just like Twin Nova, so that thing will help you quite a lot as well. And it also increases dexterity based on intelligence, so the stat bonuses are nice. I'm not sure that it will be useful for like dexterity build because we don't have that much intelligence, but yeah, it's there. Twin Nova is nice. Basically it's 2 AoEs instead of 1. Then I've seen a lot of people using Sandworm stuff. And yeah, Sandworm is weird because you don't get the dexterity set for that. You only get the maged one, which we will like, and physical one for strength, but this one have Thorn Guard instead, so that's not what we need. So those things have Gravitic Nova that will allow AoE skills to pull enemies closer. That means that when you will use your skill, they will get together. And honestly, I don't think it's really that necessary, but it will help with your AoE. And yeah, I don't have that many items for all the sets, but as you know, you can roll the second Fate Bound on your equipment as well, and it might be lucky or not, so let's equip what we have in order to do our best. So what I've got so far is 3 Blowout, 2 Twin Nova, and that's about it. I don't have that many of other things. Dexterity boost might be good as well, by the way, if you will be able to get it. And Echo Casting might be a nice bonus that will trigger 1 extra time with cooldown, so it might work. If you time it well, it might work for your AoEs, but yeah, let me show you how the Rain of Arrows will work right now when you get those bonuses. So yeah, the area is way bigger right now, it's covering most of the screen, which is great. Moreover, if you trigger it properly, it will do so much DPS because it got so much more damage. Let's actually see how much DPS that... it's so hard to figure out the DPS for this guy because you gotta be close. So yeah, keep in mind that my gear isn't perfect right now, so yeah, don't count on it to be the best. Let's do our... That's basically what we can do. We will just attack and hope for the best. The DPS here is 28k. My god, it's impossible. So yeah, it's really hard to range it properly. Moreover, that rain of arrows is the skill that you would like to aim most of the time. I'm just clicking on it and letting it go randomly. But as you can see, if you are that far away from the enemy, it already hits random direction. It happens quite often, so you want to manually adjust its placement, and I hate those skills. So those are the drawbacks that I have for this class. DPS wise though, it's not that bad. I mean, with the crappy gear that I have right now that's not upgraded, I've got about... what's that? Oh, that's what you get for killing the cat. So yeah, when the rain of arrows is active, you get somewhere around 15k with the crappy gear. It's okay-ish. You can get better if you get better weapons. I want to keep the blowout up, and we will compare it with the different weapon when we go to fight enemies, but yeah, it's okay, but it's not great. And when I browsed through other characters and what they use, it was a goddamn weird stuff. Everybody have weird sets. Medusa set is actually pretty good as well if you make it right. If you get the good secondaries, it will be expensive because Medusa will allow you to get more damage to enemies that are away, so you can kind of benefit from both of those bonuses for yourself, from your skill and Medusa set. But multi-shot is useless because you just use your AoE attack most of the time for your DPS, so it kind of doesn't work well. Concentration might be another good skill, so this guy actually tried hard because it will lower the cooldown, so you will be able to use it more often. But yeah, everyone uses kind of the same skills here. Other builds also have weird combination of stuff that I was surprised to see. So most of the people use variations of what I do over here. Yeah, they all have the soul caliber, so they actually have to use precision barrage because that item gives insane bonus to this attack, so you can't miss it. But I assume that you guys are trying to find the good way to play the game without grinding it forever to get the right item. So yeah, some people are going with the melee build straight away because ranged ones is weird, but it kinda removes the purpose of this build because it's a ranged class. It's called the Ranger. Why do you want to go melee? It's a really weird class, guys. This guy uses magic focus, so it's using magical instead of physical attack. That's weird as well. So yeah, you can see all types of stuff over here, and yeah, some lifesteal actually might be good as well, especially later on. By the way, guys, if you want to, I can make videos on other builds for Ranger and other classes, like not the most obvious ones, so let me know in the comments if you want that. Since we're here, let's take a look at the Boons of the Valkyrie to see what kind of boons do we want for this class. Honestly, so far, whatever I used was pretty much a lackluster. I didn't get lucky to get any Rain of Arrow bonuses, and my Aura bonuses are pretty much useless because they are being activated very rarely. You need normal attacks to do fire damage here and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's kind of weird, but you would like to get the best bonuses for your Rain of Arrows because that's an active skill and it will be mostly affected only by that. And your buffs, if you get something lucky, you're lucky. So now let's go and fight some bosses. I think Valkyrie will be the best example because I actually had major issues fighting him on the challenging difficulty. I haven't got the last difficulty to Valkyrie yet, I just leveled to 50. So yeah, it's painful even here, so let's go give it a go. So yeah, with all those perks that we have already, enemies are being destroyed way easier because your AoE attacks are insanely powerful. When you activate this buff, you will be able to do more DPS to the enemies, and yeah, the area of effect of this skill is now way better, as you can see. So you can decimate big amount of enemies really fast, just like that, and it feels really good, I will tell you that. But I really would like to have lower cooldown because it's taking too long for me right now to do that. But if you will do it right, if you will activate dash and then use the Rain of Arrows, it will do insane amount of damage to the enemies. And yeah, as I said before, I haven't really upgraded my weapons too much, so it could be better. Because yeah, I don't have all those fate bounds, I have only the basic ones, and those are kinda essential to use this build. Blowout and Twin Nova are core of this build. Without them, it will be more or less useless. So yeah, while the fights with the normal enemies isn't that hard anymore because you can rain arrows everywhere if you use them properly, that kind of stuff, the bosses are totally different story. Look at the range of this. We issued AoE over here, but it's damaging enemies so far away, so it's covering the entire screen now. That's what I like, guys. And as you can see, my mana regenerates with such a huge chunks, and I barely getting out of mana. If you need a bit bigger mana pool, invest a bit more into intelligence or get some intelligence gear or something like that. But yeah, I like it so far quite a lot because you don't have to worry about mana basically, and you can put most of your points where you want them instead of putting them intelligence just to get some extra mana regen or getting mana leech. So yeah, here is a Valkyrie, and the problem with that guy that it does pretty decent damage. So even though we can do pretty decent damage to him, he can decimate us pretty fast, and oh, I actually did a lot of those resets. And we get a life regen only in case if we kill someone. Oh my god, that was so close. And yeah, in order to kill someone, he needs to spawn those tentacles or something, so if he doesn't spawn anything, you will have issues. That's good stuff that I have bigger blowout right now. Before that I had a lower AoE, and since this guy moves around quite a lot, that means that you can miss your projectiles. So this build is more effective against more static enemies. The active enemies that are moving around too much will be troublesome without the blowout, because your AoE that you will attack won't reach the bosses. And yeah, guys, this build is really fragile. It's basically a glass cannon at this point, because we don't get that much strength, we don't get that much health. And if we will do the right decision, wrong decision, yeah, we will die pretty fast. Take a look at that. Just in a couple of shots of that black hole we lost 2/3 of our health. Yes, we regenerate health quite a lot as well as we take out the enemies, but if we will have prolonged amount of time without killing anyone, we will die. Say hello to those shielded enemies and to the bosses that kinda do that AoE damage over time attacks. We are going into Mandragora right now, so probably you will see what I mean. Alright, we are at Mandragora, guys, and this is the perfect example where this class shines, because you use your buffs, you use your AoE attack, and it spawns those tentacles, and it's working really well because it doesn't move anywhere, and you will always be able to do the max DPS to it without worrying too much about it going away from it or sheltering from it or something. But at the same time, there are bosses that will make you wonder why you decided to go with this class. Someone mobile, the golem, that kind of turns into the stone, and when you damage it, it heals. I died because of poison. Again, oh. It happened 3 times already in a row. Not on the boss, but on the playthrough. So yeah, the class is fragile, let's put it like that. And yeah, obviously you can get better gear, over-level the gear, and then you'll be okay. But even then, there are better classes that are doing it better with the worse gear, like Elementalist, for example. So now we're going into the Feather Portal, and here, as you can see, we got a lot of enemies, and this is an area where it's really hard to keep enemies away, so you will not really get your range bonus too often, because you want to push forward, you want to really get inside of the enemy groups in order to keep those multipliers going to get extra XP for you. And in those situations you will have... Where is everyone? In those situations you will have issues, because since you're close you don't get that extra 50% damage, which is not that great. And as you can see, that's the only damaging move that we have, because our tumble is more like, you know, a movement skill than actually damaging skill, so it won't do that much damage to the enemies. The buff is also just buffing additional DPS to this skill. So yeah, it's okay when you get the right skills, when you leveled up everything. But honestly, guys, while I was leveling this character, I thought about leaving the game already, because it took me so long to get it from level 40 to level 50. I knew that something is wrong, but I couldn't do anything. I tried leveling up my gear and everything. So leveling this guy will be really hard, because you won't really have that many items that are having those fate bounds that you need. That will be the problem for you. So yeah, you will be stuck with mostly normal attack and skills that don't really work well together, and it was a bad experience. By the way, guys, I'm playing this on the PC, as you can guess, and if you want to play it on the PC as well, there is a link in the video description for the LD player that you can download and use it to play Android games like I do. Really convenient. But yeah, most bosses, especially the weak ones, will be decimated by the train of arrows, and since now we got the higher range for it, it will be even easier, so they won't leave the vicinity of it. So yeah, guys, if you get extra tips for the ranger, share them down below in the comments. That's everything I can tell you right now, and honestly, I was expecting way better range performance, and my artillerist actually outperforms ranger. I don't really know why, it feels way more comfortable. And I wanna hear your experience with this class as well, and yeah, check out the video description for the links. We got the playlist with other guides, we got the LD player, my other YouTube channel, social media, Discord, and other useful stuff. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. It's been Stan Kosh. Have a good one. Bye.